Hello everyone, my name is Eric Ackerman, and right now you're watching my final Genius Hour project, which is this YouTube video you're watching right now. In this video, I'll be answering my Genius Hour question that I've been studying since the beginning of the semester. Can Hong Kong remain as a part of Communist China? In this video, I'll be talking about everything relating to Hong Kong, including the history of Hong Kong's relationship to Britain, the main laws governing Hong Kong, and comparing Hong Kong and China. But most importantly in this video, I'll be answering the question, can Hong Kong remain as a part of Communist China? So let's start off with this video with the history of Hong Kong. Just a side note, when I refer to China, I refer to the People's Republic of China and not the Republic of China, or otherwise known as Taiwan. When Hong Kong was first settled in 700 BC, when fishing communities established flowing communities. In 50 BC, China absorbed the region, making it a part of China. Now fast forward all the way till the early 1800s, when British merchants started trading with China. Everyone wanted Chinese goods, but China didn't want other countries' junk, such as Britain's. So then, Britain brought in something that everyone likes: drugs. In this case, opium. This led to the Opium War, where China was trying to control opium going into Britain and trying to blockade Britain from bringing opium into the country. And this lasted from 1839 to 1841. In 1841, China gave Hong Kong Island to the British with the signing of the Convention of Chinoopi. And in 1842, the Treaty of Nanking was signed, formally ending the First Opium War. Britain won the Opium War and gained not all Hong Kong, but just Hong Kong Island. And just a quick side note, I'm going to put up a map here on the screen. Hong Kong is divided into three parts of land. It's Hong Kong Island, Kowloon, and the new territories. And when I'm saying Hong Kong, I'm referring to all three parts of land. The Chinese gave Hong Kong Island because they wanted the British to trade in Hong Kong. So that's what they got. And at the time, Hong Kong Island was, sparsely inhabited. But oh no, those British, even after the first Opium War, they didn't give up and they wanted to sell more drugs in China. So from 1856 to 1860, there was another Opium War, and China gave the Kowloon Peninsula to Britain. Because Britain wanted to push even more drugs into China, China gave up and gave Britain the new territories in 1898. In 1898, China and Britain signed a 99-year lease, and after that 99-year lease, Hong Kong would revert back to Chinese rule. In 1971, the UN recognized the People's Republic of China as the one true China and not the Republic of China, or otherwise known as Taiwan. But you're probably wondering, if Hong Kong was colonized, then why is it a part of China today? Why doesn't Hong Kong have its own independence? Well, in 1972, the first thing that the Chinese ambassador did is send a letter to the UN saying that Hong Kong and Macau weren't colonies and that the Chinese territory was simply occupied by the British and Portuguese. But, then the UN published an official document saying that Hong Kong and Macau weren't colonies and that they're part of the Chinese territory. And also the reason why they did that is they mentioned in that document, in a different document, they mentioned how the letter contributed them to saying that Hong Kong and Macau were not colonies and they were part of native Chinese territory. So why is this even a big deal? With this colonies and them being their own countries, and they could have been their own countries. So also in 1972, the UN adopted Resolution 2098, which was a resolution supporting the decolonization and granting independence to colonized people. And part of the resolution was approving the document that the UN said, where they said that Hong Kong and Macau weren't colonies. So basically, the resolution passed 99-5, making Hong Kong and Macau part of the People's Republic of China and not, colonies or anything. So yeah, so now they're officially part of China. And in 1984, then British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher met with Chinese Prime Minister Zhao Ziyang to sign the first British Joint Declaration, which stated that all of Hong Kong would revert back to Chinese rule and established the reverse date as July 1st, 1997. At that meeting, the famous one country, two system rules was established, and Hong Kong became part of the communist-led country, but is allowed to retain its economic system and a partially democratic political system for another 50 years after the handover. Since 1997, Hong Kong has made its efforts to have its democracy in place, but has faced opposition from the People's Republic of China. And I'll be talking more about Hong Kong's fights with China, the People's Republic of China later on, and about democracy and stuff. During the term of the lease, Britain from 1898 until 1997, Britain built up Hong Kong into the powerhouse it is known as today. The population of Hong Kong today stands at an impressive 7.2 million people, and it is a major finance and manufacturing hub in Asia today. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's the history of Hong Kong. There's way more I can explain in more detail, but I need time to answer the question, now explain the history. So the history is just there for context, so you know what happened and what will possibly happen. So I'll now be talking about Hong Kong's relationship with Britain. Hong Kong has been under British rule for a little bit over 150 years when it reverted back to Chinese rule on July 1st, 1997. Ever since the British gained Hong Kong in 1842, it was under the British Empire as a crown colony. Hong Kong to this day has with it the love of business, international finance, the English language, and an identical transportation system to the British one. British influence Hong Kong made the English the official language of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is more democratic than mainland China, and calling back to the days when Britain ruled over Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is democratic in general as opposed to China, which is more communist. I'll be talking about later. Hong Kongers are educated in Western countries and are more accepting of Western values. Because of the British influence Hong Kong also has freedom of speech and security than mainland China. As of this video, Hong Kong is currently under the People's Republic of China's rule and is officially called the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. I know, that's a mouthful. Hong Kong is a semi-autonomous special administrative region of China, but not directly under Chinese rule. Now, the main part of the video, I'll be talking about Hong Kong as government and some general information about Hong Kong, and finally answering the question, can Hong Kong remain as a part of communist China? There's a document called the Basic Law of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China that were on that document is written the basic laws of the rule is on that document is written the rules and regulations that Hong Kong should follow. In short, the document is just called the Basic Law informally. And the Basic Law was completed on April 4th, 1990 and put into effect when the British left Hong Kong on July 1st, 1997. The Basic Law states that Hong Kong is an inalienable part of the People's Republic of China. This means that Hong Kong is not considered foreign or seen as different or alien from China, although there are major differences from Hong Kong and China. Under the Basic Law, Hong Kong is granted to exercise high degree autonomy in executive, legislative, and independent judicial power. This means that Hong Kong can have its own elections, even though China is not too happy about it and trying to stop it, even though the law says that they can control how their system functions. And the Basic Law states that Hong Kong shall not practice the socialist system for another 50 years until 2047. However, this probably means by 2047, Hong Kong will be under full Chinese control, and they will have to Hong Kong will have to practice the socialist system of China and its policies, and not do their democratic way and their capitalist ways, and they will be under full Chinese control. And they don't want that to happen, and they want to be an independent country. Hong Kong, as currently right now, is not an independent country. Although there are movements vying to get Hong Kong independent country status and to become independent of China. And in fact, 17% of Hong Kongers want independence in 2050. In the Basic Law, it says that Hong Kong's residents shall have the rights and freedoms safeguarded. The Basic Law states that the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region shall protect the rights and private ownership of property in accordance with the law. However, in China, this is not the case, as the state controls what you own. English, along with Chinese, are the official languages of Hong Kong, calling back to the days of British rule. The Hong Kong Special Administrative Region shall be a local administrative region of the People's Republic of China, which should enjoy a high degree of autonomy and come directly under the central people government. And that's what it said, and it's basically under the central people government, and it's very high degree of autonomy. And the only thing that the People's Republic of China is responsible for in Hong Kong is providing a military defense and acting as Hong Kong in foreign affairs. The People's Republic of China cannot interfere with local affairs of the region, and Hong Kong can conduct relevant external affairs according to the Basic Law. So the China cannot come into Hong Kong's affairs, and they cannot tell Hong Kong how to interact with other countries besides China itself. Hong Kong shall have its own executive, legislative, and judicial power. No department of the Central People's Republic of China, no department of the Central People's Government and no province, autonomous region, or municipality directly under the central government may interfere in the affairs of which of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region administers on its own with accordance with the law. Permanent residents of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region shall have the right to vote and the right to stand for election in accordance with the law. Hong Kong residents shall have freedom of speech, of the press and publication, freedom of association, of assembly, of procession, and of demonstration, and the right and freedom to form and join trade unions and to strike. The basic law states that Hong Kong residents are free and that their freedoms is inviolable. The homes and other premises of Hong Kong residents should be inviolable. Hong Kongers have the freedom of movement in Hong Kong and other countries and territories around the world. Hong Kongers are also given the freedom of religion, conscience, occupation to engage in academic research and literary and artistic creation, and other cultural activities. Hong Kong residents shall have the right to social welfare in accordance with the law. The welfare benefits and retirement security of the labor force will be protected by the law. Educational institutions of all kinds may retain their autonomy and enjoy academic freedom. They may continue to recruit staff and use teaching materials run from outside of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Schools run by religious organizations may continue to provide religious education, including courses in religion. The government of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region should not restrict the freedom of religious belief, interfere in the internal affairs of religious organizations, or restrict religious activities which should not contravene the laws of the region. After stating what is said in the rules that govern Hong Kong, that China doesn't have the same freedoms as Hong Kong, such as religion. China, however, also wanted to control Hong Kong's government, even though Hong Kong is supposed to govern themselves. Multiple protests have been organized to let democracy flow in Hong Kong. Hong Kong and China have very different histories, with the British having control over Hong Kong and China having control over China. Now, I'll be answering the question I've been studying since the beginning of the semester. Can Hong Kong remain as part of Communist China? In short, my answer is no, but I will explain further. The most important thing is that Hong Kong was held by Britain, which has a very different culture from China. Hong Kongers are educated in Western countries, are more accepting of Western values, and more susceptible to Western influence. Hong Kong uses English as its official languages, whereas China does not. Hong Kong has a different economy than China and practices capitalism instead of socialism. Hong Kong is granted a high degree of autonomy, which lets them govern themselves and doesn't let China telling them how to govern themselves. And keep in mind, they have a high degree of autonomy, not like medium or low. They have a high degree of autonomy. Hong Kong can never become part of China because they want to become their own country. Even though Hong Kong is considered an inalienable part of China, but they're separate. They can't remain as part of Communist China because they even want to be a separate country. And by 2047, I think Hong Kong will become an independent country and not be under Chinese rule because of the differences with China. And Hong Kong also allows its citizens to have private ownership, whereas in China, this is really not the case. China cannot interfere with Hong Kong's affairs whatsoever, which means that it's very different in the sense that China won't get involved with the way they deal with their internal affairs, and China deals with its internal affairs with one way, and Hong Kong deals with another, and I think they're really different because of that. And Hong Kong cannot remain as a part of Communist China because of that. Hong Kong residents can vote in elections, and Chinese citizens cannot. A very big difference. Hong Kong is more free than China, where Hong Kong citizens have the freedom of speech, the press of publication, freedom of association, of assembly, of procession and demonstration, and the right and freedom to form and to trade and join trade unions and to strike. Hong Kongers also have a freedom of communication, something that is very different in Hong Kong, where media is censored and communication is censored in China. A huge way in that Hong Kong can never be part of Communist China is that you're allowed freedom of religion, something that is heavily restricted in China. Finally, one of the most important things why Hong Kong cannot remain part of Communist China is the government. Hong Kong is under China's one country, two system policy, which means that while China and Hong Kong are one countries, they have two completely different systems, two separate systems, which means that China has one system, one separate system, which is kind of communist and limits the freedom of an individual, while Hong Kong has another system completely different from China, which is democratic and gives its residents many freedoms that China does not. So, being that Hong Kong has one system and China has another system, both separate, Hong Kong cannot remain as a part of Communist China, And that's true because there is completely different systems. In conclusion, Hong Kong cannot be part of communist China because of its history, government, system, and culture. My name's Eric. Thank you for watching this video and learning lots about Hong Kong with me. Peace.